coming back for 30%. I'm coming back for everything.
So I've really enjoyed The Social Network. You know, I wasn't too familiar with Jesse Eisenberg or Justin Timberlake as an actor. However, Andrew Garfield's an actor I've enjoyed for a long time through the likes of Hacksaw Ridge and obviously Spider-Man. I do believe he's the best Spider-Man, right? You can come for me in the comments, right? Leave your opinion below. You're all going to say Toby, whatever. Anyway, I thought it was very interesting to see the grassroots of Facebook as a company and the conflicts that Mark faces with people around him and even the own founder, Eduardo. I think Eduardo was my favourite character. I really enjoyed Andrew Garfield's performance. I thought my favourite scene was definitely where he raged at Mark for essentially kicking him out the company. I really enjoyed the line out of flip-flops and where he smashes the laptop to get his attention. I thought that really conveyed his anger, and yeah, it was a funny scene, but also really showed the pain in Eduardo's character, how he'd been betrayed by his essentially best friend. And yeah, I think overall I give it a 7 out of 10. The film does mention briefly that Mark was offered money by Microsoft for one of his companies and he didn't take it. I thought they could have spoken more about his time prior to Harvard. Obviously they can't capture too much in a 2-hour film, but I thought that they could have done more to do with that, slightly more at least. And yeah, but overall, solid 7 out of 10.
You don't seem to understand. Earth isn't yours to conquer.
So I've just finished Invincible, and wow, it was amazing. I really like the comedy aspect of it. So like how they kind of mimic superheroes. So Darkwing is Batman, and then obviously Omni-Man is Superman, but they still left some up to interpretation. For example, one of my favourite villains, Titan, I really like the twist they did on him, by the way. I interpreted it to be kind of a Sandman type deal. Like, even though he turns into concrete rather than sand, it's kind of like, especially with the daughter storyline, that's what I thought. And I thought it's good that they leave it kind of up into interpretation. And then in terms of Omni-Man himself, I love J.K. Simmons' role. I think he does really well in these authoritative, like, alpha, stern characters. Even as J. Jonah Jameson, where he's somewhat of a comical character. It's like, he's very stern, and he's one of those characters that he's good at playing characters that you dislike, but you still are interested in what they have to say. You're not like, oh no, I don't really want to see this character anymore. It's not that kind of dislike. It's kind of like, oh, I wonder how he's going to react to this. And yeah, I think even an animated series like Invincible, it's just amazing how he can convey that through his voice. In one of my favourite films, Whiplash, even, he's just great as the teacher. He's just very convincing as like a stern, harsh character. I think it's a great cast for him. In terms of the gore, which is also comical, I thought that, well, first of all, I think don't watch it if you're really like sensitive to gore. Even though it's animated, it's like pretty bad at some points. I think I thought it was quite shocking how like they just kind of throw you into it. You know it's an 18, but I remember my friend Cooper suggested the show. Shout out to Cooper. And we were watching it. And in, I think it's episode 2, where he freaks out at the, or it might have been episode 1, but I believe it's episode 2, where he freaks out at the other superheroes and he brutally murders them. It's just insane to watch. It's like, oh my god, now I really know what I'm watching. And from there, it just kind of sets a precedent of like insane amounts of violence. But that's kind of what I enjoy in a show like that. You know, I don't want to hold back. It's like animated as well, so they can get away with more, I suppose. But yeah, overall, I thought the ending could have been slightly better. Although I know they're probably going to do a season 2. I just would have liked to wrap it up more with Omni-Man. But, you know, the ending could have been better in terms of, like, more action. But then they can't really top the rest of the show. So, you know, I'm not complaining in terms of, like, action overall. I just thought the ending could have had a bit more of a cliffhanger in terms of, like, oh my god, is Mark alive or something like that, you know. But yeah, I imagine season 2, it will kind of lead into that, so it's not the end of the world. Overall, I'm giving this a 9.5 though. It was amazing, and I do recommend. So now we get into the best film on the list. Oh, but Josh, Parasite won Oscars. The Social...
Shut up, bitch!
It's the best film on the list by far.
Banana.
So getting into the film itself, I know going to see Minions was kind of a meme. However, me and my mate EK, shout out to EK, really enjoyed the film. We've been hyping it up a lot, sending each other memes, and we didn't actually go in suits because we heard that the cinema staff were getting annoyed at people. Yeah, I thought that was quite funny. Anyway, the film was really good. It was good to see Gru's origin story. It was unironically a good film. I do recommend watching it. I think Kevin was my favourite character. I don't know, maybe just because he's taller, he sticks out compared to the other minions. But yeah, I like the Vicious Six I thought they were a good group of villains. The kung fu montage of Bob, Kevin, and the other one's name escapes me, but yeah, their kung fu montage was great. I really like the teacher, and my favourite scene was probably the end scene where they fly off in the rocket ship. I thought that was really good. Yeah, it just kind of concluded the film well, how they kind of all flew off into the distance. Overall, I'm giving this a 11 out of 10. So yeah, find me in the comments if you want. So this next film was actually suggested on the comments of the last video. So if you'd like me to review one of your favourite films or TV shows in a future video, then, you know, feel free to leave a comment below. So I really enjoyed A Silent Voice. I find with a lot of these anime films, they are quite slow paced. However, the more you learn about the characters and about the story, you get more invested into it. And speaking about the characters themselves, I really like how they did Shoya. Forgive me if I butcher the pronunciation, I'm not Japanese myself, as you might be able to tell, so expect me to butcher these names, but yeah. So I really like the twist they did on him, where he's a bully and you don't really like him. He's actually a very dislikable character. However, I felt more sorry for him and empathised with him as you learn he regrets what he did, and his actually depression, how he's depressed. Yeah, I thought that was a good twist on that character. And I like Tomohiro, actually. I think I haven't spoken to many other people about this film, but I imagine he's quite underrated. But yeah, I think he provided good comic relief, and he's very amiable. You know, to an otherwise very serious story, I think we needed that comic relief. Otherwise, the film was just a very dark film that last 2 hours. I feel like, well, very dark in some parts at least. But yeah, in terms of the darkness of the film itself, my favourite scene was actually where Shoya is being held up by Shoko. It was really intense, and I found it a lot more gripping than the rest of the film. I was really interested in what was going to happen. I didn't know who was going to survive, or yeah, I didn't know where the story was going to go from there, so I found that to be probably my favourite scene. It was just very intense. The animation is almost like the brightness and saturation is turned up slightly too high, but it seemed to work well, maybe because of the light in all of the shots, or a lot of the shots at least. But yeah, I don't think the animation compares to Your Name, but I thought it was very good. The only reason I'm comparing these two is because these two films are similar in a sense. It's a film that I was recommended because I liked Your Name, so yeah, it's inevitable I'm going to slightly compare it at least. But what I will say about the animation is I really liked the roller coaster scene where they had a front-facing shot going up the tracks. I thought that added a three-dimensional feel to the animation, which was cool, which the rest of the film kind of lacked. I don't know, I really enjoyed that bit for some reason. Overall, I think it provides a good social commentary on what it might be like for deaf people on a daily basis, but yeah. And I also thought it was cool how they X'd out people's faces, almost like unlockable characters. It kind of reminded me of the Lego games, so yeah. Overall, not really my taste, but a good 7.5 out of 10, I'd say.
He went from dead bod to good bod.
So as some of you might have already seen, I've already done a review on Thor. Well, more of a rant, I suppose, but yeah, if you want to see my full review, go down to the description, or I'll leave a card up in the top right. But yeah, all you need to know about this film is that you probably shouldn't watch it unless you're an actual MCU fan, because it's a bit mid in my opinion. I'm giving it a 5 out of 10. So yeah, I actually thought Parasite was a sick film. I mean, after Minions, of course, it was probably the best film on this list. You know, not only in Korea, but the world as a whole. I think it shows, you know, a good contrast between the rich and poor. I thought there's some beautiful cinematography and lighting, you know, especially in like the basement, for example, or, you know, the bunker. The dark lighting kind of shows it's a lot brighter upstairs. So I suppose that shows the disparity and happiness almost of the two classes. I knew somewhat of the premise, but I found it very entertaining to watch the strategy of the characters. You know, how they slowly take over the house. I kind of knew that it was a film about the rich and poor people, but I didn't realise it had this cool storyline of how they slowly managed to strategize their way to owning this house or you know, living in it and then owning it eventually. I don't know, I thought it was cool, and it was very grippy and intense at some points where they were hiding under the table. That was one of my favourite scenes actually, with the hiding under the table, especially the bit where the dad hears the rich parents talking about him and Amitabh has to just keep quiet, but you can see the pain in his eyes. I thought it really showed some good acting there, where he's not saying anything, but you can really see how it affects him when they're saying he smells or whatever. And I think that also shows the rich people's views on the poor as well. But yeah, I would have liked to see the whole family trying to live under the house and pretend that they weren't for a while. I thought that would have been a cool twist in the film. You know, I'm not trying to rewrite the film, but I thought that would have been quite cool. But overall, a 9 out of 10. Yeah, I'd say it's the best live action film on this list, definitely. I know I gave Invincible a higher score, but in terms of live action films, this is, I'd say, the best one on the list by far.